Hello, welcome to this your channel of the band Eurofan. That's me. Encouraged by the overwhelming support of the audience to the party set by the guys of Soarele Do together with the Epilogue brothers in last year's contest, Moldova continues with its participation, hoping to keep improving their results and dreaming about having their first victory soon. Let's take a look to the next artist, a quite well-known face for many, which will be in charge of taking the baton and represent the country on lead. Here we go. For today's episode, I'm going to review the Moldovan entry for Eurovision 2023, which will be represented by singer Pasha Parfeni with the song Soarele Și Luna, which in English translates as The Sun and the Moon. We start reviewing his biography and career, who is repeating the Eurovision experience for the third time. Pavel Parfeni, mostly well known as Pasha Parfeni, is a Moldovan pop singer and songwriter. Coming from the city of Orhei, music has been present in his family since very early age. His mother was a piano teacher in a local musical school, and his father was a singer and a guitarist. He will learn to play piano since he was a kid, probably encouraged by his mother. And years later, in 2002, he will enroll in Tiraspol Music Academy, in which he will get more singing experience. And shortly after graduating, he will continue his musical studies at the State Academy of Music, Theatre and Fine Arts. His musical career begins in 2008, when he meets Anton Ragosa and Sergei Stepanov, founders of the well-known Moldovan group Songstroke Project, who were needing a vocalist at the time, joining them in their musical project. The following year, the trio will participate in the then Moldovan national final of Melody pentru Europa, to obtain representing their country at Eurovision, placing third that time, with Nelly Giovannu having won, represented the country on the edition held in Moscow, Russia. Shortly after their participation in the national final, Pasha will leave the group to pursue a career as a soloist. He will then get quite busy participating in several musical festivals in both his native country and abroad. He will later have successive attempts on participating on the contest, having different results throughout these years. In 2010, he will participate in the Moldovan national final with the song You Should Like, placing third once again, in which curiously his former band Songstroke Project had won, featuring singer Olja Tira, getting the ticket to Oslo, Norway in that edition. The following year, in 2011, he will try it again with the song Norule, placing third one more time. I guess the number 3 is his magical number, evidently. Winning that time the legendary Moldovan band Soarele Do, represented the country for the second time in Düsseldorf, Germany, finishing in 12th place. If I said before that the number 3 was his magical number, his third participation will be his third time lucky, finally winning the Moldovan national final in 2012 with the song Lautar, gaining the right of representing Moldova on the edition held on Baku, Azerbaijan, where he placed 11th in the final ranking. If it was not enough, the following year in 2013, he will have his second Eurovision experience, but in a slightly different way. And that was because he was one of the songwriters of the entry performed by singer Aliona Mu, who was also one of the female dancers that joined him the year before in his entry. During the national final, the song that was initially called A Million was originally written in English, but after her victory in the national final, it will be decided that the song will be performed in Romanian, changing its title to O Mie, for the contest held on Malmö, Sweden, with Pasha joining her on the stage playing the piano and placing 11th just like him the year before. A couple of years later, in 2015, he will take part again as a songwriter in the Moldovan national final for the trio Do Ridos, who placed 6th that time. Several years later, in 2020, Pasha will compete again and try to represent his country once again in the national final named Finala Națională. He competed then with the song My Wine, but he ended close to victory in the second place. having won the singer Natalia Gordienko, in which she would attend the contest for the second time with the song Prison. But as we already know, she was not able to present her proposal on the main stage of Rotterdam, Netherlands, as the contest was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. She will be eventually automatically reselected to compete the following year with a different song. Pasha will not take too long, however, to make one more attempt. Now we will see in detail how was the result of his fifth attempt as a soloist. The Moldovan broadcaster will organize a national final once again, this time named Etapa Națională, to pick the Moldovan representative on British soil. For this, a submission period was open between late December of last year and mid-January for the Moldovan artists and songwriters who wanted to send their proposals. By the deadline, it was known that 33 proposals were received, advancing to a live audition round, broadcasted in late January in the broadcaster studios, where an expert panel will select 10 contestants that will take part in the competition. Curiously, among the selected finalists, there was nothing but 3 artists that have previously participated on Eurovision years before: Aliona Moon, Songstruck Project, and Pasha, with the competition becoming a really interesting one. The televised show took place in early last March, with the winner being chosen with the combination of the votes of the jury and the public through an online voting. After all the finalists had their chance to perform their proposals, the voting results were quite curious. Aliona Moon will place 3rd, Songstruck Project will place 2nd, and Pasha will be the winner of the competition, being the absolute favorite from both the jury and the public, gaining the opportunity to represent Moldova for the 2nd time on the main stage of Liverpool. A love story that goes cosmically. Now here comes the analysis according to what he has presented in his proposal. The melody in this case is a pop track with folk elements, while Pasha's vocal skills are undeniable, thanks to his experience in the several musical festivals he has participated in the past. The lyrics were written this time by Pasha's wife Juliana, which casually was a songwriter for the Moldovan entry in 2013 together with Pasha for Aliona Moon. She had the main idea of the lyrics written in Romanian, while Pasha has composed the melody. He describes the background behind the lyrics in this way: sometimes the universe aligns with everything when you make a right decision. The sun and the moon will give you a crown for you and your fiancé. My hero, for example, talks to the mother nature, to the river and to the woods, and he is talking about how he is inspired and about such an important event that will happen, I mean the wedding. Reading the lyrics in detail, previously translated of course. It talks about a love story that is settled out with a wedding, but not only in the human sense but also in the magical sense, taking the context of a folk fairy tale and carrying it in a spiritual dimension. More than a message, the song relates the union of a man and a woman in a very mystical way, where the folk and nature elements are the subject in this story. Having reviewed the song, now I'm going to analyze the official music video release for this proposal. The plot is developed in the forest, where many characters are seen throughout the music video. First there is Pasha wearing a traditional costume as the main character. Then there is a cathedral prayer who plays quite enthusiastic and energetic. A woman with horns, symbolizing a character of the popular culture named as Muma Paduri, which in English translates as the Forest Mother. A dwarf man with a pan flute, which represents a magical character named Statu Palma Barbacot, which in English literally translates as Statue Palm Bird Elbow, a quite strange name for a character in my opinion. And 2 women who are technically twins, giving the impression of being the maids of honor of this mystical wedding. Essentially, the music video is focused on diversity of shots, which each one of the characters mentioned before, where there are many elements with a lot of significance. Pasha performs the song in this case while he moves around the forest. Talking about the woman with horns, I want to focus in this specific shot to comment about 2 important symbolisms identified here. She herself is the forest mother, as I have mentioned before. She comes to be the spiritual spiritual protector of the woods. Pasha has said that in the song it represents the protector of their love and their hope for the future. This hope is much reflected in the bowl she is holding with her hands, which has the Romanian word door, which in English translates as hope. Talking about the dwarf man with a pan flute, Statu Palma Barbagot, Pasha has commented that it represents a magical character who helps the main character with his flute to protect the love of the couple and to win his lover's heart. Throughout the music video, the twin women are seen doing the folk dances, and also with Pasha as well, especially in the chorus, like they were doing a prenuptial ritual. Towards the end of the music video, the forest mother turns to the woods and then closing the performance. Making a summary of the comments, the Moldovan entry for this year is very original. It is a proposal that is distinctive by the use of diversity of folk elements from the Moldovan culture, which makes it quite authentic, and it's very well known that this type of proposals with a folk touch are much well received by the audience. Recalling the staging in the national final, it has taken most of the elements seen in the music video. In this case, Pasha is at the center wearing the same traditional outfit. There are two cathedral prayers instead of one at both sides of the stage. There are two women with horns as the mother forest, which are the backing singers as well, and the dwarf man with the pan flute as the magical protector described before. Particularly, this performance is quite produced. In each part of the song, the different characters take relevance, in which there is a lot of energy and mysticism. This is also complemented with a very dynamic set of spotlights and visual graphics with the imagery of the sun, the moon, the folk motifs, and both solar and lunar eclipses. It is essentially the prenuptial ritual brought to the staging, which gets your attention all the time, with which also evidently have fascinated both the jury and the public. For the staging in Liverpool, it is pretty sure that he would replicate the same one done in the national final, taking into account the high significance of every part of the performance. It would be ridiculous to think that he will change or modify something. Being a quite flawless performance, it is about to wait until next May when he performs it on the stage. And you, what do you think about the Moldovan entry for this year? Come on and leave your comments down below to keep the discussion. And this is it for today's episode. Take a few seconds to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you have not done it yet, then enable notifications, as well as you can also find me through my social media. Take care and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.